What's up, y'all? It's your boy Kairos, and I am bringing you the definitive guide for Havoc Demon Hunter and the Season 1 of the War Within. Now, to get this off, we're going to stack Mastery. We generate a ton of haste. So, I've seen some people not be able to really talk about Aldrachi Reaver very well. Um, how do I just want to get this out of the way because I know some people are confused by how these talents work, like Thrill of the Hunt and stuff like this with Aldrachi Reaver. The way that this hero talent works is, for most things, it's going to work in Battlegrounds if you have a healer. It's going to work in. Basically, you have to run it with the healer pretty much all the time. It buffs your overall damage, it buffs your healing, makes you actually a lot feels like a lot tankier than Fel-Scarred in some ways. But the issue is it requires some momentum to get into. But once you start getting into it, you get soul shards very very quickly as a demon hunter. So I'm gonna kind of go into kind of what I'm seeing with Aldrachi Reaver and Fel-Scarred running both the Immolation build and the Fel-Scarred build with Chaos Blades. I still feel like Chaos Blades is probably one of the best builds. And there's a couple talents you can change around, um, which do feel pretty crazy. So, to get it off, we're going to stack Mastery. As far as talents, you have two lock-ins. I would say Glimpse is definitely one of your lock-ins. And this one here, Blood Moon, is one of your lock-ins. And the reason is when you get a greater soul, increases your damage by 20%. And it is still a chance. You don't always get it. But if you're purging off cooldown, even if there is nothing to purge, you still get a soul shard. Which, if you're playing Fel-Scarred or Aldrachi Reaver, you will heal and you still get something out of it. You get a heal and you might get some damage out. You do get damage out of it because it does generate fury. So thing with Fel-Scarred versus Reaver, Reaver's more of the tanky sustain spec, and it buffs your overall basic abilities. So it buffs your Chaos Blade damage. It just, they're like random little buffs that go throughout the game. So I kind of like Immo Aura with Aldrachi Reaver, and I like Chaos Blades more uh, with the Fel-Scarred build, and I'll kind of explain why. So your Fury is a lot higher with Fel-Scarred, so it allows you to just spam Chaos Blades. And here's Burning Blades. Your blades burn with Fel energy, causing your Chaos Strike, Throw Glaive, and auto attacks to deal an additional 35% damage as fire damage over 6 seconds. This actually does so much damage, especially if you're cleaving. I think Fel-Scarred is just going to go just so much harder than Aldrachi. Maybe it'll change when there's more haste, but just Demon Surge is doing so much of your damage. Here's another modifier on your pursuit. Just your mastery and your speed. We're moving really fast already. So this is one other thing that I want to talk about right here. So if you're going to run the Immo build, if you're going to run Flamebound, Immolation has a 2-yard increased range and 25% critical strike bonus damage. If you're running the Hunt, Immo Aura always crits, so this is just 25% more damage on that. Student of Suffering. The way that this talent is going to work is actually really interesting. So when you first start your burst with Chaos Blades, I'm just gonna get this one out of the way because it's really simple. When you start this off and you're running pure Chaos Blades, like I am here, I'm just running everything Chaos Blades, buffing everything that I can. So the way that this is going to work is pretty simple. So to start off, you're going to start doing damage. You're going to throw your glaive. You're gonna use I beam, and then I call it thing in my macro. You're gonna use your. Man, where is it? Maybe I'm just blind today. Drive. You're gonna use your Sigil of Flame. So basically, use your Sigil of Flame. Sigil of Flame. That's gonna give you a huge mastery buff. So I have 62% mastery when I use it. I'm gonna use meta again. I'm gonna use my thing. I'm gonna use I-Beam, Chaos Nova and all that. Or Essence Break into Blade Dance and then Chaos Blades or Annihilation because it's modified. So when you're doing damage as this spec, you want to be not CC'd as much as possible. You want to just be doing as much damage. Or not necessarily damage, but your you want to just be spending Fury because you're extending your demonic form by spending Fury. So you want to make sure to try to keep that buff up as much as you can. And then I've got it again in 74 seconds, so about a minute. And then okay, I'm gonna throw Glaive again. Got my I-Beam. I'm gonna increase my mastery by 20%. Could have used Essence Break there, but I didn't. I'm going to hold on to that Essence Break because we're going to get I-Beam really quick. Use our Immo to generate some Fury. The one thing I don't like about Essence Break with this build even is, yes, it does buff your Blade Dance damage and your Chaos Blade damage very dramatically, but it doesn't always line up with everything else just because of how much Fury you're spending. So my thing, you should pre-use it before you use your I-Beam just because it's such a mastery increase. As you can see, I mean, I am cleaving, but Demon Surge is hitting really hard. So is Burning Blades, Annihilation, I-Beam is always hitting super hard. Inner Demon if you're cleaving, and just overall in general, Sigil of Flame is always going to hit hard. So go into the Immo. I guess Essence Break is on cooldown. We'll wait for that. Okay, I guess I'll cover PvP talents. Blood Moon. Basically, everything's useless. Detainment's good in some niche situations with warriors. Cleanse of Flame is good into mages. And Reverse Magic is good pretty much into anything that's not Naflock. Alright, now that we got that covered. Really quick, I know. Rain from Above. Good into double melee. Whoop, we're not going to go starter build. We're going to go Inner Demon. So this is kind of the Immolation build with Fel-Scarred, and it does go into Aldrachi. So as you can see, I have Flame Howl. Just going to start doing damage. You still get all the benefits of the blade of the Chaos Blade spec with this, but instead now you actually have more generation with your Immos. So it does add some flavor into what you're doing. You still get that huge mastery buff, of course. You don't have the stopping power that you would with having Essence Break, but that's fine because you're going to be buffing your sustain so much anyway that it doesn't really matter. And as you can see, we haven't even really popped anything yet. We're just able to cleave so much. So I'm just going to start bursting right away. We're going to use our thing on cooldown. Make sure we get these empowered ones. If you're running the Immolation, you want to just get those off of cooldown right away. All three of them. If they do proc, they just do so much of your damage. Get that enhanced one. Anything that's enhanced, just instantly use it. It's just way more damage. So, and one thing that does benefit this whole build is, you know, I was running Flamebound, but you can run this with the Immo build as well. This is still really strong. I believe you're always gonna run it. I just wanted to show what kind of damage you can get with the Immolation if you're running Glaive. Immo's your top damage. I'm sure we could flex some talents around to go around with Rage Fire just to get that huge, you know, go. So we could drop like things like Shattered Destiny and go into this. Well, we don't need that, and do something. You know, do something like this. You know, just kind of play with the talents, just see what it is. But, time to talk about Aldrachi, because it is kind of a weird talent tree. Think of it as your Throat Glaive is on crack. You do a ton of damage with it. I've found that you do have a lot more self-sustain with it over the course of the game, but as far as getting it right off of the bat, you have to use the hunt, basically, at the go. It has a lot of things that does buff your chaos damage, overall, or not your chaos damage, but just your overall, like, sustain that's already in your toolkit is where Fel-Scarred is doing more, like, it has other effects that benefit your basic rotation that you're already using, like Chaos Blades, Blade Dance, stuff like that. So, consuming 6 soul fragments of casting the hunt converts your next throw glaive into Reaver's Glaive. This ability actually does hit really hard. It actually makes your Chaos Blades and I believe your Soul Scar, because it scales off of this, so it makes your throw glaive damage exceptionally high and makes your bleed damage exceptionally high. It actually makes your overall AoE damage exceptionally high. That's why I'm kind of like, you know, do you care about doing big things with Essence Break with this build? I don't believe so. I'm kind of stuck between these two talents. So Fellblade turns you with the Blade Ward, reducing damage you take by 10% for 5 seconds. You Fellblade a lot, and it's on a 14-second cooldown, and has a chance to reset. You're going to have a ton of soul fragments anyway as Demon Hunter. You do not have a Fury problem. Each time soul fragments you consume, it shields you for an additional 15% of the amount healed. So if it heals you for 1 million, it's going to give you a shield for 150k. Just a simple way to look at it. I believe that's how it's scaling in PvP as well. Preemptive Strike. Throw Glaive deals X amount of damage to enemies near its initial target. Like I said before, Cleave spec. The other talent, Reeve Glaive, generates 20 Fury. I don't feel like you have Fury problems at all. So, that's just what it is. And one thing I really do like about this build is the way that this works. So, Reaver's Mark. When enhanced by Reaver's Glaive, Chaos Blades applies Reaver's Mark, which causes the target to take 7% increased damage for 20 seconds. If cast after Blade Dance, Reaver's Mark is increased by 14%, so it's just buffing your overall damage by a tremendous amount. While Reaver's Mark is on your target, melee attacks strike with an additional Glaive slash for X amount of physical damage and have a chance to shatter a soul. Consuming a soul fragment causes your Chaos Strike to deal X amount of more damage. Fellblade consumes up to 5 nearby soul fragments. After consuming both enhancements, gain Thrill of the Hunt, increasing your attack speed by 15% for 20 seconds and your damage and healing by 20% for 10 seconds. Chaos Bladed damage increased by 10%. We like that. That's why I'm running the Chaos Blade here. And all the other modifiers on everything else except for Dancing with Fate. Which some people might not agree with, but this ability still already does a ton of damage overall, and you're just everything else is getting buffed so much it doesn't really feel like it's necessary. So if we look at my buffs over here, we're just gonna get our Fury. We're just gonna use the Hunt. We're gonna get our Reaver's Mark, and then we're just doing damn. So Incorruptible Spirit, that's our Absorb. And look at this. Damage and healing increased by 20%. 1.3 million healing. We rebuffed it. Maybe it is worth running all that. So, Art of the Glaive is hitting hard. As you can see, it makes your Soul Scar damage exceptionally high. It's kind of interesting. So, I've debated running the Chaos Blades damage with this build as well, because you're just buffing your damage so much. But the one thing I don't like about it is as you spend Fury, you tend to, with this build, because you don't have the 50% increased Fury, it doesn't, you kind of overcap on your Fury a little bit, or you spend too much, and it's a little bit harder to weave it, is where you can just get full Fury with Fel-Scarred and just do a ton of damage and just not even think about it and just extend your demon form even more. So that's one thing where I'm just kind of like, you know. So I've even thought about not even running, you know, this talent and just going pure into Immo or even a few other things and just dropping a couple things. But the thing is it's kind of a weird build. I feel like there's a lot of builds that you can run. I would suggest that you play with it a little bit, because it is kind of more of a chaos build, throw glaive centric with the Aldrachi Reaver. But there's not really any lock-ins for either or hero talent tree, which is actually kind of nice. You're not locked into picking Bladestorm or Thunderclap or something like that, like a warrior is. So there's a lot of options with Demon Hunter. You just gotta pick your poison and what feels good. I feel like a lot of the time right now, Demon Hunters are actually doing a ton of damage. I feel like you don't even need to run this. You could just do this, something like this, because you're already buffing your Blade Dance and Chaos Blades so much, and you're just increasing the healing and damage you take. And you can have that modifier off of Blood Moon, where you get that 20% damage increase. So that's one thing to kind of think like, oh, now I can have a 40% damage increase from just being able to do things. So I think Fel-Scarred is more of the sustained damage, while Aldrachi might be more of like the surprise big chunker that people aren't going to be able to see, and that they're not going to be able to see it coming, because Immolation's doing a ton of damage. Everything that you press as Demon Hunter is very impactful. It makes your Soul Scar damage exceptionally high. It just makes everything about Demon Hunter really high. Aldrachi just buffs all of your base abilities. Doesn't necessarily enhance them like Fel-Scarred, but it just buffs your base abilities and makes your overall damage higher. And it's just a set of rolling buffs. Because Chaos Blades isn't always going to give you Soul Fragments. Not everything's just going to give you Soul Fragments. But you tend to get them really quick, so you can maintain the buffs really quickly, especially if you're purging on cooldown and you're just doing a bunch of other stuff to get Soul Fragments. Throw Glaive does a lot of damage with this build, and especially if you're cleaving, and Soul Scar can do an exceptional amount of damage as well. Something else I do want to mention with the Fel-Scarred build, if you do run it, I feel like you're locked into Sigil Mastery. The reason is it just lines up so you get two of the empowered Sigils of Flame. So I feel like you have to run that in order to get the full value of that in PvP. Of course, you can get CC'd, but you know, this still the same concept is you have immunities as Demon Hunter. You can Vengeful Retreat out of it. And DH is frankly A+ tier, S tier, exceptionally good class no matter what thing you do in PvP, be it solo shuffle, solo queue, just anything solo blitz, whatever it is, arenas, whatever. You have a ton of damage, good sustain, good healing, just everything. You have an immunity. Demon Hunter literally has everything that pretty much all the other melee have, but it's faster, it's better, it's stronger, and it's really annoying. And it's hard to kill. They can be some of the most annoying classes to kill. And I kind of wanted to explain Fel-Scarred versus the Aldrachi Reaver. Aldrachi just buffs your baseline damage, while the Fel-Scarred just enhances your abilities and has a proc to do damage. But anyway, y'all have a good one, and I wanted to bring you this guide and kind of explain how those two hero talent trees are working and what you can kind of do and go from there and kind of experiment with the talent trees, because there's a lot of options with Demon Hunter. I feel like there's more options with Demon Hunter than a lot of other classes. But y'all have a good one, and enjoy the guide, and see you later.